The present passage we're going to discuss is about the United States intervention in World War II. All right, a moderate to difficult passage. The passage you had to make sure that you read the answers options carefully and mark. Then it would be easy. But if this is the last of the passages you're doing, you're in a hurry to finish parajumbles and summary coming after that, then you're likely to make a lot of mistakes here. So be careful. When a passage has a lot of facts and a lot of words, terms, this, not this, you have to have a clear idea what's the author saying. Understand the main point properly. Second, when there are direct questions, do go back to the part of the passage from which the question has been asked and make sure that the answer option that you think is right is actually right or not. So you would be spending some extra time for each of the options. All right. Why did the United States? So the entire passage is talking about the Second World War and wars in general. The author says, why did the United States intervene in the Second World War? This question is rarely asked because the answer is obvious. Pearl Harbor, US was attacked first. To most Americans, there's a term he has used. World War II was a war of necessity. All right. Now, this is another term. He says wars can be wars of necessity or wars of choice. How does he define a war of choice? War of choice is something like Vietnam and the First World War. What is the First Gulf War? The American invasion of when Iraq invaded Kuwait, America started the First Gulf War. Because wars of choice are fought for reasons of principles, ideology, geopolitics, sometimes pure humanitarianism. So this is a war of choice. Remember, here the passage, you have to understand two terms. What's a war of necessity and what's a war of choice? War of choice involves your principles, your ideals, sometimes humanitarianism. On the other hand, war of necessity is a life or death struggle where the safety and security of a homeland, your nation's safety and security is at stake. And World War II, people called it a war of necessity. It is a quintessential war of necessity. That is why US joined World War II. Gulf War and the First Gulf War and Vietnam, those were wars of choice. They involved principles, ideals. They chose to get into the war. In the second one, it was necessary for you to get into the war to survive. Got it? All right. Next one. If World War II is remembered as the good war, the idea that it was necessary is a big part of the reason why. How do people remember World War II? As a good war. And according to the author, it was called a good war because it was necessary. All right? Because the enemies are wicked, Americans were attacked first, Japan attacked, right? Pearl Harbor started it. They had no choice but to fight. The perception of World War II has had a paradoxical effect on the broader American foreign policy debate. On the one hand, people who are anti-interventionist, means people who are against war, that you should not intervene, there should be no intervention on your part. They rightly perceive that the war's reputation as necessary and therefore good has encouraged America to believe that other wars are necessary and therefore good. People who are against war, who are against interventionism of any kind, are saying that the moment you say if it is necessary, it's a good war, it is encouraging this perception that any war that is necessary and therefore it is good. So a lot of other wars are being included in this necessary and therefore good category. And then he gives a line of wars which people have called good because of that reason. On the other hand, anti-interventionists are not alone in believing that even if World War II was necessary, the circumstances were unique and therefore irrelevant to subsequent foreign policy decision. From this sentence, what are you getting? That anti-interventionists also believe World War II is necessary. But this idea that it's necessary, therefore good, has made people justify other wars as necessary and good. That's what... No. All agree that World War II was necessary and therefore good. He says that World War II was unique, different. There's not going to be another Hitler. There's not going to be another situation where, there'd be a direct attack on the United States, like the kind that Japan did. World War II is very different from other wars. But the other wars, World War II was the only good foreign war that United States has ever fought. All other wars, according to the author, were not. Alright, but what if even America's intervention in World War II was not necessary, as most Americans would define the term? So most Americans would say World War II was necessary. But what if it wasn't necessary? The author is playing the devil's advocate. What if the situation is that it was not necessary? Then he is coming to the answer. What if a choice that America made based on the calculations not different from other wars, according to the author, World War II could also have been a war of choice, a choice that Americans made based on a lot of things that happened. Those many Americans who opposed American involvement in Europe and Asia in the 30s and 40s did not believe that war was necessary. So there were many Americans who did not believe World War II was necessary. In 1930s and 40s, they did not support America and they did not believe that the war was necessary. They knew about the risk posed by Hitler and the Japanese Empire. They knew about the attack on France, but they still thought that the war was not necessary. All right. They not only believed, but they also predicted that after England falls, France has fallen. If England falls, then America will be left with no allies. America will have not a single ally in the European theatre. Alright, this is the gist of the passage. Which of the following statements, if false, could be seen as the most supportive of the arguments in the passage? We have done a if-false question before. Which of the statements, if it is wrong, would support the idea of the passage? So what kind of option are you looking for? An option which states the opposite of what the author has stated. And what is the incorrect option? Options which align with the author's views. You reject all options which agree or align with the author's views and choose one which is opposite the author's view. Then when it is proved false, it is wrong. Therefore, the author's statement is correct. Clear? Alright. Britain continued fighting because it felt that it could defeat Germany. We don't know why Britain continued fighting. Last statement, somebody said, why did Britain continue fighting for so long? Was it so stupid? Something like that in the last paragraph. So we don't know why Britain continued fighting. Author has not mentioned anything about her view or his view on why Britain continued fighting. It is irrelevant. Only anti-interventionists were of the opinion that although World War II was necessary, subsequent wars were not. Did only anti-interventionists believe that? Many people believe that. So this is wrong. Right? Anti-interventionists believe that only World War II was necessary and good. So the only anti-interventionists means others didn't feel that is wrong. Therefore, if you put it the other way around, it will align. So this is the answer that we are looking for. If this is proved false, many people were of the opinion that although World War II was necessary, subsequent wars were not. Many people believe that, anti-interventionists included, not only anti-interventionists. Therefore, B, if false, would support the author's statement. B is our correct answer. Let's see C and D. America First Committee was in favor of military intervention during World War II because the committee felt the war was winnable. Did the committee feel the war was winnable? Irrelevant to us. According to he has mentioned their support of the war. According to anti-interventionists, victory in World War II led to American interventions in many military misadventures. Actually, C has not been mentioned. It's irrelevant. And misadventures is an extreme word here. led to other wars maybe. Misadventures, the author hasn't called. Misadventures means a failed attempt. Okay, we've got our answer B.